Hello, my Bill 5000 Nation. How's everyone doing today? Hopefully, everyone's having a great day. If not, hope it gets better from here. All right, we are back with a new MrBallen video. That's right. This one is titled Instructor Decides Their Fate in Midair. Distressing content. I hate it when he has the actual warning in the title. That means it's going to be bad. Like sometimes there's no warning. No, there's not always a warning, and they're pretty bad. When they have the warning, they scare me. All right, so shit. Let's get into it. Go ahead, turn the mics down low. Put on something comfy, cup, someone special. Let's get distressed. Yeah, I mean, why not? It's right there. It's in the title. Let's use it. Let's use
Today's story is a skydiving disaster story. However, it does not go the way you think it will. And at the end of today's video, there is a very special call to action that is connected to the main story that I think many of you will be very excited to participate in. But no pressure. However, before we get into that story, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format,
Looks like he got a haircut.
then you've come to the right place because that's all we do, and we upload once a week. So, if that's of interest to you, please sneak in to the like button's house and swap out their cat for an identical looking cat. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. Okay, let's get into today's story.
What would you do with the cat that you swapped? I
On the morning of August 1st, 2009, 44-year-old skydiving instructor David Hartsock pulled into the parking lot of Skydive Houston in Texas and then made his way inside. A few minutes later, and Dave, like the rest of his colleagues, was hard at work getting ready for the day before the facility opened up and the inevitable weekend rush began. Skydive Houston is actually just a private airport, and it's not really in Houston. It's located about 30 miles to the northwest of Houston in a city called Waller. The main facility of Skydive Houston is situated right up against this huge open airfield that basically looks like a big green grass field. And the main facility itself is comprised of several large buildings, one of which is a huge hangar that contains the Super Twin Otter airplanes, which are the little aircraft that bring the skydivers up so they can jump out. Because Skydive Houston offers something called tandem
no. 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 No to all of this. I'm gonna go ahead and say it right here, right now. I have this thing with heights. Okay. I'm not scared of being up high, per se. I am more fearful of the inevitable, oh fuck, I am falling to my death. That comes with being there. So, I'm not scared of heights. I'm not going to say that. I do not have a problem with heights. I don't like the fact that I could die being that high up. There's a difference. Don't look too deep into it though.
jumping, it gets a lot of first-time jumpers. Tandem jumping is when a skydiving student attaches to the front of their instructor. Literally, they're buckled onto them, and then the two of them leap out of the plane together, with the student never detaching from the instructor. This method allows the student to just kind of go along for the ride and have no responsibility, while the instructor, who's attached to them, does everything. They make sure they're both
See, I don't like that either, because I've 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 gone to work and had a bad day. How many people here have gone to work and have just had the most shittest day ever? Okay, this is someone's work. They could be having a really shit day. Would you put your lives in their hands if they was having a really, really bad day? I ain't doing that. Mm-mm. I don't, no. I don't believe in that buddy system shit.
Stable in the air. They're the ones that pull the ripcord to deploy the chute. They're the
Nope.
ones that land them safely on the ground. And
No.
so obviously, tandem jumping really
No.
appeals to first-time jumpers. Dave had
No.
finished his 3-year-long training course to become a certified skydiving instructor just a few months earlier. But even prior to
Okay. That's cool that they make you take a 3-year course. I still would not do it. You you still would not be able to pay me to even think about doing it because it's not fucking happening. It's not even like one of those, oh, you have 24 hours to live. I'm jumping out of airplane, bucket list time type shit. No, that will never be a want or need to jump off or out of anything and plummet to my death. What if the person packing your chute was having a shit day? No.
going through this course, Dave was already a very experienced skydiver with over 800 jumps to his credit. And the reason he had so many jumps is because Dave loved skydiving. It had given his life a focus that really nothing else ever had. Dave had always been a kind of average guy. He lived in a very modest house in a suburb of Houston, and for much of his life, he had worked very normal blue-collar jobs, like he had been a cook at 2 different chain restaurants, he had managed a grocery store, and he also had worked at a soda bottling plant. Dave was divorced and had no kids, but he had a really good group of friends who liked to go to bars and go bowling and play darts.
So, he is an average, ordinary, everyday person. Okay. Means there's nothing tremendously special. So he's moderate. I'm not jumping out of an airplane with someone who is moderate in life, in control. The person in control of us smacking off the ground needs to be exceptionally gifted at everything, even flying, like without an airplane. Like they should be able to somehow shoot a propeller out their ass and guide you to safety. Ain't doing it.
And while Dave was never really unhappy with the way his life was going, as he started to creep into his 40s, he couldn't help but think, I haven't really done anything big or important in my life. And so, in 2004, not long after Dave got divorced, one of his good friends asked him if he wanted to go skydiving with him to celebrate that friend's 40th birthday. And Dave immediately thought to himself, this is it. This is a chance to do something big with my life. And so he told the friend, yes, I'd love to go. And after that first jump that Dave did with his friend, Dave
I want to do something big, bold, and important. What are you gonna do? I'm gonna yeet myself out of a plane. Any plane. I don't give a shit. But I'm gonna do it. I wish I was one of those people. That's just like, hey, I want to go bungee jumping because it's fun. Or hey, I want to be like catapulted up into the sky with something and just like flailed around or spun at billions of miles an hour. I'm not one of those people. I worry. What if shit days? What if there's just a bunch of shit days and I get trapped in it?
was hooked. Whenever Dave was falling through the sky at over 100 miles per hour, it was like nothing else in the whole world even existed. Life became very simple and beautiful.
That would not be simple or beautiful to me. In my head, that would be terrifying and scary. Horrifying. Horrifying. Falling through the sky. Like, did he say 100 mile an hour? No. I'm not falling back towards Earth at 100 miles an hour for nothing. Oh, God.
Manager at Skydive Houston saw Dave come in every weekend for years to do all these jumps, And finally, he just offered Dave a job. And so that was how Dave left the soda.
Real photo of Dave skydiving with student. So Dave is going to be the one on the back, right? He looks professional. He's got like the suit shit. And he's got the instrument on his hand. Where are we at? I'm on a beat. What kind of die? Yeah. I ain't doing that. Both these people, something wrong with them. Both of them.
Bottling plant to become a skydiving instructor. So, August 1st, 2009 was a Saturday, and Saturdays at Skydive Houston were incredibly busy with basically non-stop tandem jumps all day. Whenever Dave was not working, so he was jumping on his own, he would always pack his own parachute because, like many other skydivers, he liked to make sure it was done exactly right. But when Dave was working, especially on Saturdays when it was so crazy busy, he didn't have time to pack and repack his parachute after every single jump because he was constantly being sent up again and again and again to take another student. And so instead, he would take one of the pre-packed parachutes that were left out for instructors inside of their
Shit day. Nope.
clubhouse. That particular Saturday in August of 2009 went very quickly, with Dave going up one after another with different students and jumping out and pulling the chute and landing safely over and over again. And then finally, at the end of the day, right around 4 o'clock, when Dave was getting ready to be done for the day, his manager came up to him and said, "Hey, do you mind doing one more tandem jump?" And even though Dave was really exhausted, he's dripping sweat, it's super hot outside, he'd done 6 jumps that day, which was a lot, he said, no problem.
Fuck you, Dave. Bro. Commercial. Alright. I'm ready.
Well, it's that time of the year again, which means the big game is right around the corner. Right now, trillions of people are rushing to their local owleries to get their mitts on the perfect winged beast for their game day buffalo owl dip. Meanwhile, me and old Lung focus on what really counts on game day, and that's finger strength. Every day for the past 20 decades, me and Lungy have been waking up at 1 a.m. every day and putting our fingers through a grueling powerlifting routine so that on game day, when we fire up our gasoline-powered cell phones and load up our DraftKings Sportsbook app, as soon as we see the bets we like, our fingers are so jacked that when we tap on our screens, our fingers go through the phone. Now, does that ruin the phone? Yes. Is it worth it? I don't know, but it jacks us up. Now, does that ruin the phone? Yes. Now, does that ruin the phone? Yes. But is it worth it? Probably not. But it gets me and old Lungy jacked up on game day. So, if you want to be a betting behemoth like me and old Lung, then you better put that hooter back in the owlery and head to your local gym and start pumping some finger iron. Because this year, I'm teaming up with DraftKings to give all new customers a winning offer. All new customers have to do is sign up for DraftKings using my promo code, MrBallen, and then bet at least $5 on the big game, and you will instantly receive an additional $200 in bonus bets. Yes, it really is that simple. New customers who bet $5 on the big game will get $200 extra in bonus bets. Wondering what you could use that $200 in bonus bets on? You could try same game parlays, where you combine multiple bets from one game, like which team will have the most passing yards and which team will have the first touchdown of the night for even bigger winnings. If mobile sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry, you can still get in on the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers use promo code MrBallen and bet $5 on the big game and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Again, that's promo code MrBallen only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Okay, back to the story.
Hey. I can do that now if I wanted to. We can gamble now. Yeah.
And so the manager introduced Dave to a short blonde woman who was visibly nervous named Shirley Diggert, who was there to celebrate her 54th birthday by skydiving for the first
By plummeting to her death at speeds topping 100 miles an hour, or maybe more. I don't fucking know. However fast you fall through the damn sky. That's stupid. I would not. No. No.
time. Her husband, her son, and her 3 grandkids were also there to watch her from the ground and take pictures, and her other son, who was celebrating his 30th birthday, he too was going skydiving. As soon as Dave walked up to Shirley, he grinned and stuck
2 funerals. It's gonna be awful.
out his hand, and he made the same kind of corny joke he always made with nervous first-time jumpers, and that was, "Don't worry, you're gonna be just fine. You're gonna be strapped to me, and I'm not about to let anything happen to myself." And so Shirley laughed, and she did seem like she was a little bit at ease. And so Dave patted her on the shoulder, and then he walked over and he grabbed one of the pre-packed parachutes off the wall. These chutes actually contained 2 parachutes inside of the backpack. There was the main chute, which typically is the only chute that gets deployed on a jump, and then there was the reserve chute, which is a little bit smaller and is not normally used unless there's some sort of emergency where the main chute fails. After every jump, because the main chute has been deployed, it gets repacked and stuffed back into the backpack. But the reserve chute, because it almost never gets deployed, just stays packed. And so Skydive Houston, like basically every other skydiving facility, has certified technicians come in periodically to test the reserve chutes inside of the bag to make sure they're still packed exactly right. After grabbing the pre-packed parachute off the wall, Dave walked back over to Shirley, who was now in the staging area putting on her flight suit. A flight suit is a single garment. It kind of looks like a big onesie for an adult. And so Dave walked over, he put the parachute down, he tugged and pulled on her flight suit to make sure it was good, and then after he...
Thank God her family went with her to take a shit ton of pictures. I would not be down for none of this. I'm sorry. I like my life. I don't want to end it smushed.
was satisfied, he picked the parachute back up and he signaled to Shirley, as well as Shirley's son, who was also skydiving, to follow him. And so the trio, they left the staging area, they went outside right to the airfield where there was a Super Twin Otter idling and other jumpers were climbing on board to go for a jump. And so Dave, Shirley, and Shirley's son got in line, they boarded the plane, and a few minutes later, they were airborne. As the plane slowly climbed up to 13,500 feet, which is the jumping altitude, Shirley was sitting directly in front of Dave. They were on a bench seat on the back right of this little airplane, and Dave made a point of talking to Shirley and asking her where she was from and what she did to kind of ease her nerves. Shirley would tell Dave that this was not the...
See, I'm not one of those people. Do not talk to me when I'm nervous. Clearly, I just need everyone to just shut up. It's like, nope. No, don't talk to me. Don't do it. Don't try to make small talk. If I'm nervous, just let me shut down mentally. That's what I'm alright. I'll be fine. Just don't talk. That makes it worse. I don't know why. I've always been like that.
Kind of thing that she typically did. In fact, she told Dave that her other son, who was jumping with them, when he first decided he wanted to try skydiving a year earlier, she had desperately tried to talk him out of it, saying it was too dangerous. But recently, Shirley and her husband had decided that they needed to be more adventurous. They lived in a quiet town in rural Texas where Shirley was a...
Then do some Dora the Explorer shit, bro. Don't jump out of an airplane. You want an adventure? Go on an adventure. I'm sorry, but to me, plummeting to the earth very fast is not an adventure. It's death. That's death.
Mail carrier, and her husband worked in a mine, and their lives were just kind of simple and very routine oriented and kind of boring. So
fine.
when Shirley's son, who was skydiving with them that day, had...
Boring is safe. Falling out of the sky is not. I'm sorry, I'm not going to let that go. Why would you want to do it?
asked Shirley to go skydiving on her 54th birthday, she saw it as an opportunity to break the mold and do something adventurous, and so she said yes. And so
break something, whatever.
Dave told Shirley about how he had discovered skydiving much the same way she had, and they really bonded over that. About 20 minutes after takeoff, all the tandem jumpers on the plane were now attached to their instructors, so Shirley was now buckled onto Dave. And then when they reached 13,500 feet, the jumping altitude, one of the instructors slid open the side door. It was time to jump. And the first one who was jumping was Shirley's son. And so from all the way back in the plane, Shirley called out to her son, "Have a good jump, I'll see you on the ground," as her son kind of waddled to the edge of the door with his instructor, and the two of them jumped out.
I mean, do you get strapped to him before you get there? Like, do you have to like walk in tandem there? See, that would be awkward. I don't know. I don't like none of this.
And disappeared into the air below. Next up was Shirley. So Dave told Shirley very calmly to stand up, and so they did. They stood up right next to their bench, and then before they waddled towards the exit, Dave, for what felt like the millionth time, checked to make sure he really was securely fastened onto Shirley, and then Dave tapped his ripcord.
Hey, you let that motherfucker check 100, 101, 102, 372,000 times. I was always taught measure 10 times, cut once. You don't want to have to keep cutting that shit. Don't you let him check.
Right behind him, kind of like muscle memory, reminding himself where to go. He tapped his knife on his shoulder. He kind of just felt his equipment, and then feeling ready, he said, "Okay, Shirley, let's go." And then the two of them kind of waddled their way towards the front of the plane where that door was slid wide open, and then they turned, so Shirley's feet were right on the edge, basically looking out into the sky right outside. And so it's really loud, it's very windy, and Dave is right in Shirley's ear saying, "Okay, I'm gonna count to 3 and we're gonna jump." And then Dave reached forward, he pulled Shirley's head back so she was looking up.
No. See, that's where no, it'd been over for Bill. It would have. Oh, you gonna let me just kind of dangle my toesies off of the edge, and bro. We ain't jumping. Sorry about your luck. I know you really enjoy this. I know you was happy to pop my sky cherry or whatever, but no, this shit ain't happening. Mm-mm, mm, mm-mm, no.
Because he didn't want her to look down when they leapt out, because for some people that will cause them to panic when they see the ground. And so with Shirley's head back, Dave very
What? I wonder why. Why would it freak anyone out to see the ground out of a door that they're about to jump out of? 13,500 feet in the air. I'd freak out no matter where the hell I was looking. It ain't gonna make a damn.
calmly said 1, 2, 3, and then very gracefully, the two of them jumped out. From the moment you jump out of a plane at 13,500 feet until you touch the ground, it takes maybe 2 to 3 minutes with about 30 seconds to a minute of actual free fall. But that 2 to 3 minutes is so intense, it feels like it's 20 minutes long. And this was what Dave loved so much about skydiving, that intense presence you feel.
Oh god. Time would stop in my worst fear. I don't want to. No. No.
That you're really in the moment. There's nothing else you can think about. It's just you careening through the sky towards the earth. It's incredible. Dave had actually had a number of close calls in his life. Like a few years earlier, he had been riding his motorcycle when somebody hit him in their car and he fractured his skull. And then not long after that accident, he was in another accident where he fractured his spine. And after each of those two accidents and a few others, the only thought in Dave's mind was, oh my goodness, I hope I can skydive again. And miraculously, he had been. He had made full recoveries and he was back to skydiving each.
My first concern would be like, oh my god, how am I alive? do I need to play the lottery and hopefully I win so I can buy a solid concrete bunker to hide myself in because I ain't doing this shit no more. I got killed twice on the ground.
Time, and so now whenever he jumped out of a plane, he just felt so lucky. The plan for that evening's jump was for Dave to rotate them 360 degrees 3 separate times so Shirley could get a full look down across Houston and all over Texas and just kind of see the world around her from so high up in the air. And then, whenever Dave noticed that they were at 5,000 feet using his wrist altimeter, which is basically like a watch that tells you how far you are from the ground,
Yeah.
Dave would pull the ripcord, the main chute would deploy, and they would float gently down to the ground. And at first, that is how this jump went. After they exited the plane, they stabilized in the proper horizontal position with Shirley in front, her stomach pointing toward the ground, and Dave.
Hold on. Okay, we're dabbling in like a major thing for me. I need a sec. I need a second. Okay, hold just. Okay. Okay. He's too good of a storyteller. Like he's immersing me into it, and I'm body's freaking out a little bit. Like I'm jumping too, and I just need a second.
Obviously right behind her, controlling the skydive. And then after a few seconds, Dave slightly changed his body position and began rotating them 360 degrees so Shirley could look down and see all the highways.
I threw up everywhere. I would threw up all over Texas. I would throw up all over Houston. They'd be like, "What kind of rain is this shit?" I would have. Don't do that.
And cars and barns and houses and the city off in the distance. I mean, it's
No.
this spectacular view. And as
It is. It is. That is beautiful. That is stunning. Gorgeous. Magnifico. Love it. Love it. I can look that up on the internet though. I don't need to do that. I get on Google Maps. I don't need to do that. If I really, really want to feel like I'm skydiving, I will get like Google Maps VR or some shit, and I will jump up and down on my bed while looking at an aerial photo of an area. That'll work. It'll work just fine for me. It don't bother me a bit.
you're falling through the sky, especially in the first few seconds of a jump, you can't tell that you're going super fast, but you're going over 120 miles an hour, which is called terminal velocity. It's literally the fastest you can fall in the air. And so you're blazing towards the ground, but it almost feels.
Oh, you can't fall no faster than 129 mile an hour? Like, well, that makes things so much better. I mean, why didn't someone tell me this at the beginning of the story that you can only fall 129 miles an hour? I mean, I've never been hit by a car going 129 miles an hour before, but I'm pretty sure it wouldn't hurt, right? So, I mean, hitting the ground at 129 miles an hour, that's going to be dust it off and keep on going. Shit. I didn't know.
Like the air is pushing you back up. And so Shirley's having this incredible first time experience, just really taking it all in. And Dave, even though he had done this hundreds of times, was having a wonderful time as well. But Dave really was just focused on his altimeter because when they hit 5,000 feet, he needed to pull the parachute. Yeah. And so they're cruising along. Dave's checking his altimeter over and over again. And then finally, he sees 5,000 feet. He quickly looks around him to scan for any other jumpers. He's clear. And so he reached back and he pulled his ripcord handle for his main chute. Now, normally, when you deploy your main parachute, depending on what kind of parachute you're using, there's actually kind of a slow unfurling. It's not like suddenly the chute is deployed and then you just stop. That would not work. You'd get destroyed every time you skydive. So the way it's packed is it kind of unfurls slowly, and it's like a gradual slowing down. But after Dave has pulled the ripcord handle, there was an immediate yank of the parachute backpack up and away from him, and then from somewhere above him, he heard a loud popping sound. Now, Dave had jumped enough times to know that this was not normal. There was a problem. and he would be right. The main parachute had deployed out of the backpack, but it got tangled on the way out, and so it did not inflate at all, and so as a result, it was not slowing them down at all. But worse than that was this tangled up parachute was still attached to them, and it kind of became like a sail, and it turned Dave and Shirley onto their sides and began whipping them around in something called a death spiral.
You got a knife. Just cut everything. Fuck it.
Spiral, where literally you're just spinning so unbelievably fast that normally jumpers will actually lose consciousness. They're spinning so fast. But Dave, being a very experienced skydiver, he tried to stay calm. He tried to track his way out of this death spiral, which is when you put your arms and legs straight and try to go in a straight line through the air. But it didn't work. He just kept on spinning faster and faster. And at this point, Shirley, she's practically losing consciousness. She's yelling what's going on. And Dave is just trying to stay calm. He's still trying to get out of it, but he knows there's no way. But Dave remembers he has 2 knives. And so he decides he's going to cut away this tangled main chute and then deploy his reserve chute, because you don't want to open your reserve directly into a tangled parachute. And so he reaches up, he's spinning, remember, he reaches up and he grabs the first knife. However, the lines of the tangled parachute had actually tangled on his shoulder strap where that first knife was, and so he literally couldn't get to the knife. And so now they're below 5,000 feet. They're at like 4,000, closing in on 3,000 feet. I mean, they're coming close to the ground here, and they don't have a canopy. But Dave, he stays calm. They're spinning around.
Oh, God. This is awful. I don't want to hear no more. I don't want to hear no more. I don't. No. Oh. Oh, for the love of God. Why? Why are we watching? No, I don't want to. I don't want to no more. No. Oh, sweet Lord. Alright. This, I would have shitted it everywhere. I'm not gonna lie. I would have. If I was either one of them, I would have. I don't care whose position I was in, whichever knowledge I had. I don't care. I would have shit. As soon as we went to whatever they call a death spiral, man, they call that a death spiral for a fucking reason. I want no part of that. Period. Oh no. All right. Let's get back to the traumatization.
Can't get that first knife, and so he reaches for the second knife, which was placed in front of Shirley. But because of how quickly they were spinning, he couldn't quite get his arm out to grab the second knife. It was just impossible to grab it. And so, without any other options, Dave had to pull his reserve chute, knowing it was going to go straight into this tangled mess right above them. And so the reserve chute, it deploys, and it does work, at least at first. There's that gradual slowing down sensation that Dave immediately feels. Their spin begins to stop, and for a second, it seems like they're going to be saved by this reserve chute, because by now, they're only about 2,000 feet from the ground. However, the worst case scenario happens to Dave and Shirley. As soon as their reserve chute was up over their head, inflated, their main chute suddenly caught air and inflated as well. So they had 2 parachutes. Now, you can land with 2 parachutes, absolutely.
Oh fuck, that's a real photo. That makes it more real. I don't want no part of this. Why are we doing this? I don't understand. Oh my God, it's above the trees. I would die. I'm not gonna lie.
However, sometimes in a worst case scenario, the 2 parachutes will catch wind going in opposite directions. So basically the parachutes will go out to either side of the jumper or jumpers if it's tandem, and then you basically have wings that aim the jumpers straight at the ground. It's like an accelerant. It causes them to literally speed up straight towards the ground. And once you start moving in this position, which is known as a down plane, it's almost impossible to get out of it, because the faster you go, the more inflated these 2 parachutes become. And so Dave knows they are less than 2,000 feet from the ground. They're in a down
they turned themselves into a plane that's known as diving towards the ground, which was probably worse. Oh, for the love of God, why? Why? I don't, I don't want to hear no more of this. Oh my God. This is too much. He's just, you're good of a storyteller, MrBallen. Why are you doing this? It's mean.
Plane, which is almost always fatal, and so all he can do is try to get out of the downplane. And so Dave, with all his might, he begins yanking on the different lines of both parachutes, and he manages to get them out of the downplane, which is nearly impossible to do. He does it, and then both parachutes collapse. And suddenly, Dave and Shirley have no parachute, they're less than 1,000 feet from the ground, and they are falling once again over 100 miles per hour straight down to the earth. Now, at this moment, Shirley is crying, she's screaming, she doesn't know what's going on, and Dave has this incredible sense of calm come over him. Years ago, Dave had given up on the idea of ever having a family or of having kids. He was a really good guy who would have been a great father, but it just wasn't in the cards for him. Instead, Dave had found skydiving. Oftentimes, Dave would stay late at Skydive Houston and just sit around the campfire with the other instructors and the other jumpers and drink beers and eat burgers and tell stories. And sometimes Dave would even sleep the night at Skydive Houston because he didn't want to go back home to his empty 3-bedroom house where all he wanted to do when he was there was go skydiving again. But now, literally staring down his own death, knowing that it's going to happen any second, the only thing he could think about was Shirley. He didn't care if he died. He felt like he had found his calling. If he died doing it, so be it. But Shirley, her husband, her son on the ground, her son skydiving, her 3 grandkids, they're going to see Shirley hit the ground and die. He just couldn't handle it. He thought, I have to do something to protect Shirley. And with only a few hundred feet to the ground, Dave yelled to Shirley, tuck your knees up. And Shirley immediately did it. She threw her knees up. And as she did, Dave pulled back as hard as he possibly could on the risers and the toggles in an attempt to switch places with Shirley. Shirley was in front of him. Her body's going to hit the ground first. Dave flipped them around so that his back was going to hit the ground first. He was going to sacrifice himself to maybe save Shirley. When they hit the ground, people a quarter mile away heard their impact. And when they hit the ground, all of Shirley's family saw it. Everybody saw it. They went running over to the crash site. And when they got there, there was this tangle of bodies and this parachute. And as they're staring at it, they watched one of the bodies move. It was Shirley. She was alive. After paramedics arrived, they cut her off of Dave's body.
Let's go! Yeah!
And they rushed her to the hospital where she had serious injuries. She had several broken vertebrae and very significant internal injuries, but none of them were life-threatening. She would survive. However, 3 days after arriving in the hospital, Shirley got devastating news. Dave had been rushed to the hospital as well right after Shirley had, but he finally had succumbed to his injuries and passed away. Dave's last-ditch maneuver had worked. He had saved Shirley's life at the cost of his own. However, not long after Shirley and her family found out about Dave's death, they got another call, and this time it was to tell them that the news about Dave's death was premature. He was not dead. However, he was paralyzed from the neck down. A few weeks later, after Shirley got out of the hospital, she immediately went to the intensive care unit where Dave was being treated to see him for the first time since their accident. And when she saw him, he was sitting in a wheelchair covered in tubes and wires, and she just stood there looking at him. And Dave, when he saw Shirley, he just started to cry. At this point, Shirley walked up to him, she gave him a hug, and she said, I love you. Today, Dave and Shirley are still friends. Shirley has recovered completely because of Dave's heroic act. Dave, on the other hand, remains paralyzed and only has a little bit of feeling in his right arm. He now lives in Texas with his mother, who looks after him full time, and they desperately need our support. My family has already made a donation to his GoFundMe page, and I hope some of you will do the same thing. You can find his GoFundMe page in the description below. And after speaking with him, he assured me that all of the donation money is being used to take care of himself. He has a lot of care that he needs. His mom can't do it alone. And so anything we give them is just making his life a little bit easier.
That's great. Oh,
I always tell my oldest daughter to do things that scare her, because oftentimes those are the things we actually want to do the most. And so today I'm going to live up to what I always tell my kid to do, because today I'm announcing my first ever live storytelling show. Doing a live event has always been so interesting to me, but it's actually just kind of terrified me, and so I gotta do it. It's going to be a digital live experience on February 16th, so roughly 2 weeks from now, and because it's so close to Valentine's Day, we decided to call this show the Ballentine's Day Show. And this 1 hour long show will just be me at my desk with no script, telling you crazy, strange, dark, and mysterious stories in real time. If this first show goes really well and people enjoy it and they want more of it, then I think there's a real chance we transition to a full-scale tour where maybe I could be telling live stories in campgrounds or in locations where some of these stories have taken place. We don't know yet, but it all starts with this first show. So to show your support and to tell us that you want a live tour, go get your tickets now. There's even some really cool special limited edition Ballentine's Day merch that you can get as part of a ticket bundle. Also, I'll be doing a live Q&A after the show that you can get a pass to as well. Go to moment.co/MrBallen to get your tickets, to get your merch, to get your after party passes. Again, that's moment.co/MrBallen. Happy Ballentine's Day.
Mysteries from the Campfire with MrBallen.
So that's going to do it. If you got something out of today's episode and you haven't done this already, please sneak into the like button's house and replace their cat with an identical looking cat. Also, please subscribe to our
Alright. That was like one of the best MrBallen stories fucking all time. Oh, I about teared up. Like my eye got watery. Like I wasn't crying, but it got watery. It did. Like that was a motherfucker's a superhero. I loved it. It was the best story ever. No, like that's really cool, but no, I wouldn't. No, there's not enough money in the world that would pay me to do what that man would wanted to do every day for the rest of his life. That I would shit myself. Plain and simple. Alright. If y'all enjoyed today's video, please leave a thumbs up. If you're a fan of the spooky, scary, strange, deranged, disturbing, yet satisfying stories, think about subscribing. Hey. This channel. Honey. Join. It's an emotional roller coaster. Subscribe. Do it. Do it now. No balls. Alright, as always, be good to one another. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye. Oh, I do not ever want to hear a story like this again, though. It's just. It was so bad. Nobody should ever, ever, ever jump out of an airplane. Ever. Ever. No, that is amazing though, and the sheer fact that like he had the ability to switch positions with her like that, last second, saved her life, and damn, y'all, it was too good.